Former NXT champion Bron Breakker has challenged Raw's Seth freaking Rollins to a World Heavyweight Championship match next week. Huge news on that. Plus, Baron Corbin, we may have an update on who his NXT opponents could be now that he's back on the developmental brand. Dana Brooke is the latest main roster star to make an appearance on NXT this week. We have a new number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Solo Sikoa sends a warning to his brother Jey Uso ahead of SmackDown this week. The Rock's daughter Ava Raine wins her first singles match on NXT television, and Braun Strowman is released from hospital after undergoing neck fusion surgery. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Seth freaking Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship not only on Raw this week, but possibly against an NXT superstar next. After this week's episode of NXT, it seems Bron Breakker is looking past the NXT Championship and towards a larger goal. During Tuesday's episode, Breakker revealed that he wants to face new WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins for the title. Breakker called out Rollins in the final moments of the show, saying he wanted Rollins to prove that he is indeed the workhorse of WWE by coming to the developmental brand and putting his title on the line. He also said that while Rollins was the inaugural NXT champion, Breakker was the most dominant holder of that title. Of course, he's a former two-time NXT champion, his most recent reign lasting nearly a year from April 4th, 2022 to April 1st, 2023. Rollins became the WWE World Heavyweight Champion last month at WWE Night of Champions after defeating AJ Styles in the final of the World Heavyweight Championship tournament. Rollins has already made his first defense of the title, defeating the Judgment Day's Damian Priest this past week on Monday Night Raw. He's also a former two-time WWE Champion, a former two-time Universal Champion, and of course the first ever NXT Champion, having won a tournament for that title as well way back in 2012. So what are your thoughts on Seth freaking Rollins versus Bron Breakker possibly next week on NXT? And is this the beginning of Bron Breakker heading towards the main roster, or is this just a case of Rollins proving he is indeed the workhorse of WWE and some cross integration between Monday Night Raw and NXT, considering both are on the USA Network? Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section below on that big revelation last night on NXT. Sticking with NXT, Baron Corbin has made quite a spectacle of himself upon his return to NXT this week. On this week's episode, Corbin was confronted by former NXT UK champion Ilya Dragunov, but after being confronted by Dragunov, Corbin was attacked by Trick Williams. Williams' assault was a response to Corbin's attack on the NXT champion Carmelo Hayes last week. Corbin made his intentions clear upon his return to NXT as he held the NXT title high after beating down the reigning champion. This led to a match between the two later on in the episode, which Corbin ultimately won. Corbin's return to NXT is thanks to his status as a free agent following the 2023 WWE draft last month. Corbin went undrafted alongside the likes of Mustafa Ali, Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Dolph Ziggler, Elias MVP, Von Wagner, Zion Quinn, and former WWE champion Brock Lesnar. Corbin's budding rivalry with Hayes is reminiscent of last year's feud between the main roster's Dolph Ziggler and then NXT champion, the aforementioned Bron Breakker. Ziggler bested Breakker for the title, holding it for a series of weeks before losing it back to Breakker on the Raw after WrestleMania 38. Prior to his NXT return, Corbin had been on a long losing streak, last beating Akira Tozawa on the November episode of Raw last year. The dejected Corbin was then dropped by his personal advisor, WWE Hall of Famer John Bradshaw Layfield, and laid low before attacking Carmelo Hayes last week. No word on whether or not the former NXT star will return to his former Lone Wolf moniker now that he's back on the developmental brand. But when it comes to Baron Corbin and Mustafa Ali, there's a bit more of context of why they're back in NXT and what they're going to be doing there. This comes from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. Mustafa Ali and Baron Corbin appeared on NXT, and Fightful are reporting that they've learned a little bit more about that process. WWE sources that Fightful Select spoke to said there were tentative plans in place quite a while ago for Baron Corbin and Mustafa Ali to work both NXT, one of the reasons that the free agent tag was put on them. The same source said that despite a lot of the things from the previous regime that made that cynicism around free agent tags understandable, there was more of a plan for them this time. There were several NXT talent who specifically had requested to work with Mustafa Ali, and word that Fightful got was that Ali was more than happy to oblige. The goal for these appearances is to add interest in NXT, help refresh Ali and Corbin, assess the talent they'll be working with, and get experience for NXT talent with people who have worked main roster TV and a style for quite a while that WWE likes, of course, the WWE style. Fightful have also been told that Ali and Corbin will continue working in NXT, but that it isn't a completely permanent move and they can still appear on Raw and SmackDown when needed, which they have also been doing as well. So this free agent tag is very much real. They can appear and will appear on multiple shows, and this is a way of continues to test NXT talent, but also add some interest to the NXT brand. Now, speaking of main roster stars, going back to NXT, Dana Brooke is also another name that has appeared now on NXT television, fresh off the return of Baron Corbin to WWE NXT. Another main roster star has made their way to the developmental brand. This time, it's Dana Brooke, who appeared in the parking lot and announced herself as a competitor in the main event Battle Royal to determine a number one contender to Tiffany Stratton's NXT Women's Championship. Now, what's interesting about this one is, unlike fellow main roster members Mustafa Ali and Baron Corbin, Dana Brooke is not a free agent, having been selected by Raw in this year's draft. Quote, "I heard there's a number one contenders battle royal tonight," Brooke told a backstage interviewer. "If anyone's going to face Tiffany, it's going to be me. I've heard there's a lot of buzz around NXT and this place is full of opportunities, but I'm going to make my own opportunity tonight when I'm the last woman standing." Brooke hasn't wrestled in NXT since 2016, having become a mainstay of the main roster in WWE, especially on tape shows like WWE Main Events. While never a women's champion on the main roster, Brooke has won the WWE 24/7 Championship 15 times, tied with Akira Tozawa for the second most reigns with the title, but of course well under 24/7 division stalwart R-Truth's 53 reigns with the now defunct bout. At one point, Brooke had even championed turning the title into a secondary women's title. Of course, that never came to be. But unfortunately, she was not successful in winning that battle royal and becoming the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship, because that goes to Thea Hale. Thea Hale has guaranteed herself a shot at the NXT Women's title. The closing contest of Tuesday's episode of WWE NXT saw a sea of women compete in a battle royal for the opportunity to challenge Tiffany Stratton for her newly won NXT Women's Championship. The field of competitors featured notable names such as Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Lyra Valkyria, and, as I mentioned, a surprise appearance from Monday Night Raw's Dana Brooke. After Fallon Henley was eliminated from the match, the final two appeared to be Jade and Brooke. That was until Thea Hale re-emerged in the ring. Lash Legend had sent her crashing into steel stairs earlier on in the bout, but she had never been eliminated. After narrowly saving herself from elimination with a single hand, and with Jade and Brooke caught up in the ropes, Hale snuck up from behind and tossed them both over the top rope and onto the floor to secure the victory. Upon her victory, Hale was joined by her fellow Chase U members in celebration, a group that included the Cavender twins, Haley and Hannah, who made their NXT debut by hoisting Hale on their shoulders. The Cavenders, of course, had actually teased their appearance on Twitter earlier on in the evening, as Hannah posted a photo of them inside the WWE Performance Center, alongside the caption, "You may see your new fave tag team in the ring tonight." So seemingly we have our next set of twins on WWE television. The cycle continues in the WWE universe. Let's switch gears here and talk about SmackDown. Of course, SmackDown, huge ratings last Friday, huge social media numbers as well, and it's all centered around the Bloodline. Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Solo Sikoa turning on his own flesh and blood, his own brothers. Now that Jimmy Uso has signed his proverbial death wish by challenging the authority of undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, the focus now shifts to Jey Uso, who is expected to make his allegiance known this coming Friday night on SmackDown on Fox. On Monday's night's edition of Raw, Paul Heyman issued an ultimatum to Jey, imploring him to make the right decision or suffer the same fate as his twin, who was flattened by a Samoan spike from Solo Sikoa last week for refusing to acknowledge Reigns as his tribal chief. Ahead of Jey's Day of Reckoning, Sikoa, the enforcer of the remnants of the Bloodline, has issued a stern warning to his brother and anyone else that dares cross Reigns, as can be seen on his social media. Sikoa shared an old photo of himself, Sami Zayn, and the Usos at a WWE live event, along with red X's over Sami Zayn and Jimmy, two men who are no longer members of the Bloodline. There's been chatter of Rikishi, the father of the Usos and Sikoa, possibly getting involved in the ongoing Bloodline saga, as evidenced by his own Twitter timeline. The WWE Hall of Famer has been actively voicing his opinions on the developing storyline, with the most recent "It's Our Turn" tweet suggesting that he has given his approval to the Usos to take matters into their own hands. Some fans have also floated the possibility of Rikishi apologizing to Reigns on behalf of his twin sons. If Jay was side to side with Jimmy this Friday, fans could be treated to an Usos versus Reigns and Sikoa match at Money in the Bank. In the event that he reestablishes himself as Reigns' right-hand man, Jimmy could be left on the island of obscurity, fighting for his entire family. So what do you think will happen Friday on SmackDown? Do you think that Jay will pledge his allegiance to either Roman Reigns or to actually Jimmy Uso? In addition to that, could we see Rikishi, the WWE Hall of Famer, get involved in this whole storyline? Is that something you'd like to see? Of course, Rikishi and the Wild Samoans were set for Raw's 30th anniversary earlier this year. However, those plans were changed. Instead, it became the trial of Sami Zayn. So could we see Rikishi appear on Fox this week as well? What would you like to see? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Let's talk about NXT once again, because 3 years after signing with WWE, Ava Raine, the daughter of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, has finally scored the first victory in her professional wrestling career. During Tuesday's edition of NXT, Raine teamed with the Dyad, Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed, to take on the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile of the Diamond Mine. Well, it went very well for her. The ending of the contest saw Raine headbutt Nile with her mask on while the referee was distracted by Reed. Raine then pinned Nile to seal the victory for the Schism. Last October, Raine unmasked herself as the newest member of the NXT stable known as Schism, aligning herself with Joe Gacy and the Dyad. Raine later made her professional wrestling debut on the kickoff show of NXT Stand and Deliver in an 8-person mixed tag team match. With Raine's first win now in the history books, one question remains: when will she make her singles debut? Last week, Nile challenged Raine to meet her in the ring one-on-one. As tensions continue to simmer between Schism and the Diamond Mines, it seems to be only a matter of time before Raine makes the move to singles competition. For now, though, Raine celebrates with a tag team victory last night on NXT. Finally, Braun Strowman. A bit of an update when it comes to Braun Strowman. We know he's out of action for a significant amount of time. It's been a rough go recently, it must be said, for the monster among men, Braun Strowman. He's been off WWE television since the beginning of May due to a serious neck injury that forced him to undergo neck fusion surgery last Friday. Less than a week later, Strowman is going home. PW Insider reports that Strowman was released from the hospital on Monday of this week. However, fans shouldn't expect Strowman back in the ring for the foreseeable future, at least as he recovers and rehabs from the surgery. WWE has moved Strowman to their internal injury list, with any creative pitches for him tabled moving forward looking very unlikely and being put on hiatus. Nevertheless, Strowman appears to be in good spirits, receiving support from a number of wrestlers, including Ryback, Carmella. Additionally, backstage at Raw last night, a number of talents were sympathetic towards his situation, the direct result of Strowman being a well-liked figure, reportedly, in the WWE locker room. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride for Strowman over the past year, it must be said. After being released from WWE, he was welcomed back in September, but shortly thereafter, he found himself in a center of another wrestling controversy following comments he made about high flyers on social media. Oddly enough, and some had speculated as punishment, he'd then settle into a tag team with Ricochet and High Flyer that he had criticised. He was also then out of action for a short stretch in April after suffering a concussion during a SmackDown match with the Viking Raiders. He then returned the following week, but now he's out of action for a significant amount of time. So best wishes go to him, and hopefully he can recover and get back soon. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you today. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts, as always, on today's WWE news in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN 365 roster. All you have to do is click that join button. It's in the video description as well. We'll make it the pinned comment in the comment section too. We are doing a Monday Night Wars rewatch series that is exclusive for members of the WN 365 roster. The first video in that series went up last week, where we rewatched WCW Monday Nitro, the premiere episode, and this week we're going to be watching WWE Monday Night Raw and WCW Nitro. We're going to be doing two videos, of course, Raw and Nitro separately. They went head-to-head for the first time, so we're going to be watching that. So if you do want access to that, all you have to do is join the WN365 roster page. Anyway, guys, have a great Wednesday, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.